Okay, so why don't we just start off with a meditation? We'll just kind of get all of our chakras lined up and see where it goes from there.
Okay.
So let's make ourselves comfortable. Let all tension just fade away. It's just energy in a particular pattern held for a particular moment. And at this point, it's usually held by our Annabelle. Annabelle has a quote-unquote idea of ourselves, and it's holding that pattern so we have a sense of continuity with each other. That we're not like waking up one day with, blue hair or something like that. So it holds an idea for us, so day to day, hour to hour, we relatively look the same. So we're going to kind of loosen up that Aka substance in there a little bit and kind of get things moving, because she's just doing her job, keeping the pattern going, and this way we're going to just let the energy flow. We're going to let the energy move. We're going to let the energy caress our soul. We're just going to relax. Kind of a melting effect. Kind of like you're falling into a dream. But in this case, it's a waking dream. We're going to stay consciously awake as we know. So let's move our awareness like we know we can. Let's move our awareness to our feet and leave our awareness there for a while. Move your awareness to your ankles. We can, hopefully we don't, but we sometimes hold a lot of tension in our ankles. This is where one of our entry points for tension likes to hang out. So we're going to ask that tension you can move on. We don't need you right now. Let's just intend for it to leave. Sometimes we like to visualize it as like vapors or smoke. Because we're not going to do anything. We're just going to allow the spirit to move the energy. So let's move our awareness to our calves. And same drill, allow any tension to just be released. Now move our awareness to our knees. If there's anything tense there, you can ask it to leave. You don't need it. Move our awareness to our thighs. And release. Release, release, relax. Move our awareness to our hips. And if you're aware of any tension, just ask it to leave. Intend for it to leave. Move our awareness to our lower part of our back. If you feel anything stuck there, just scoot it out of there. Just ask for it to leave. Intend for it to leave. Visualize it leaving. Move our awareness to our upper part of our back. Move our awareness to our shoulders. Feel any tension in your shoulders? Like we feel like we're holding up the world, or feel like there's responsibility in there. It feels like we sometimes don't do enough. Or sometimes we feel like there's a sense of codependence with somebody and frustration gets stuck there. Sometimes a sense of lack of communication with someone gets stuck there. It starts in the throat, but it sometimes winds up in our shoulders. That sense of responsibility, especially for people that have a lot of responsibility, or can have, sometimes it gets stuck in our shoulders. So just allow it to leave. Invite it to leave. Intend for it to leave. and relax. Release that tension. Annabelle is just holding in a particular pattern because she thinks she's protecting the body. It's like trying to build armor. Now move our awareness to our throat. And again, if you feel anything tense there, this area is, again, the communication zone. Or if we feel we're not being heard, we feel that someone's not understanding us, if there's any friction in relationships, this is where we also feel sometimes a disconnect to our source starts to begin here too. So if you start to feel that, just let it go. Relax. Relax. Now move our awareness to our jaw muscles. And here is where, like the shoulders, communication, frustration, sometimes anger gets stuck here. Usually it's communication with other people, sometimes even ourselves. If we have frustration that with our body, our mind, or emotions, we may try to lock it here to try to maintain a sense of control in situations we're maybe afraid to lose control. But we don't have to worry about that right now, so let's just invite it to move on. That energy can be used somewhere else. We just can bless that energy with our awareness. Just relax, 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 relax. Don't need any tension at all in our jaw muscles. Okay, now move our attention, our awareness, to our eyes. And here's another place where we can hold tension, frustration. Sometimes we don't want to see something. This is the beginning of denial, where we force our eyes to see things that we don't want to see or we do want to see. This is where wanting can start to be a problem if we don't see what we want. Just relax the eyes. We have billions, millions of nerve receptors in that area that all connect to different various organs in the body. By relaxing the eyes, we're in a sense relaxing all the organs, letting the meridians flow. Just relax the eyes. Okay, let's now move our awareness to the crown of the head. And just relax the cranial muscles. Move your attention around your ears, around the parietal lobes, the sides of the head, top of the head. Now let's move our attention, our awareness, to our stomach, our hara. Just allow the breath to be natural. Annabelle, the body, know how to breathe. Let's let them breathe. Just allow them to breathe. We don't need to control it. We're not trying to think right now. Remember, we hold our breath when we're thinking, concentrating. We cannot think if you let go of your breath. or let's put it this way, the type of what we could call thinking is completely different. So in a sense, it's not what we would normally call thinking at that point. Letting go of the breath lets us get in touch with our higher consciousnesses, the superconscious. Also, we can personify as a her known as Beatrice, represented by Dante, getting brought to the gates of heaven, because Virgil brought Dante to the gates, but Beatrice led him through. And in this case, Dante is you. And Beatrice is just helping you remember your original face. So one day, you remember. And you remember you created the whole thing. But for right now, let's just be aware of our breathing so we can get in touch with Beatrice, the angel of the Lord. Okay, let's visualize a beautiful pool. Let's put our body on this pool, on a flotation device. It's not hot out. It's very pleasant. And there's a few people swimming in the pool, having a good time. Gives this vacation holiday effect that makes you remember a moment when you didn't have to worry about anything. You didn't have to think about anything. You were just peaceful dweller on your flotation device, kind of like Subhuti, peaceful dweller in the wilderness, abiding nowhere. Now bring your attention to the sky. It's a beautiful blue, clear sky. When you bring your attention to it, move your awareness to the sky. And expand your awareness to infinity out directionless, meaning that there is no end to the sky. There are no edges. The more you move your awareness and expand your awareness, you get a more sense of expansion in your body. Now let's create our beautiful place. This is where our brain starts to create theta waves. This engages our pre and frontal lobes. This is where thinking doesn't exist. So that's why you're listening to the sound of my voice, and I'm guiding you through this so you don't engage Mr. Virgil. Just make a beautiful, beautiful place. Whatever there is to see, whatever sounds are there, it could be the wind in the trees, just that open, expansive, beautiful energy that just tickles the ears. Now move your attention to the peaceful part of your beautiful place. Just get in touch with the peace. It's like all the sound has been sucked out completely. And all there is in your awareness is peace. Silence. It's like you can hear the silence. It's so quiet. Now become aware of your heartbeat. Attenuate yourself, your awareness, to your heartbeat. Just be aware of it. Do nothing else. And then move your awareness back to your forehead area. And you should become aware of luminosity. The more relaxed you are, the brighter the luminosity will be. The more relaxed you are, the greater the tone, the pitch will be. The greater Om will be. And the greater your relaxed state is, the higher it will be. The more piercing it's going to be. It cuts through ignorance. It is itself the Diamond Sutra. Cutting through ignorance, illuminating us to remember our original face. Now let's move our awareness to that point that's 6 inches above the top of our head, and just be aware. If you become aware of your body up there, well, it's the content of your awareness, and it's not you. So you can't be the body. You have one, and you're supposed to take care of it. And inadvertently, as your consciousness improves, and you become more aware of your original face, you're going to take better care of your pet. Leave your attention 6 inches above your head. If it wanders off, well, just gently bring it back up there and relax. Be at peace. From this point, like the Tao Te Ching thing says, nothing is done, yet everything is never left undone. That you will become aware that you have no pockets, that you were before you anything, and you will always be, and you're never missing. And consciousness becomes your arms, becomes your body in the world, but you really just like become of the world, but not of the world, but not in the world. To be like a protective barrier between you and consciousness. Ironically, that barrier is awareness. You'll be the third space. Let's leave our attention 6 inches above our head. Now bring your awareness back to your beautiful place. Now while you're in your beautiful place, I want you to try to visualize someone that you might have some friction with. You know, there might be a communication issue, or they're always trying to control you no matter what you do, or they're always critical, or there's some sort of issue. There's the energy doesn't flow between you, and it could be a coworker, it could be a boss, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, a neighbor. Doesn't matter. Just visualize that person. And hold that thought in your mind. Hold that person there in that beautiful place. Bring them to the beautiful place. Now I'd like you to visualize a white light. And put that person in that white light. You can even send them love. Send them peace. If you start to see some sort of attachment form between you and that person, like some sort of strings or something attaching you between them, just take visualize a big sword or some scissors and cut the cords. And then see if it's easier to put them in the light. Now I'd like you to get in touch with love. Visualize love, remember love, get in touch with the greatest form of love you can feel, the most wonderful, purest form of love you can feel. And send that love to that person. Now I'd like you to visualize yourself, your body, the thing you see when you look in the mirror. Put that visual, that idea, you're going to put that in the light now. So visualize a big, bright, loving light and put that self, that idea, that person, that persona in the light. That wonderful, bright light. And then again, send it love. Remember, it's not you, but you have it. So you're going to give it a treat. Give it the best you can give it. The best love, the purest love, the brightest light. Okay, bring your awareness back into the physical body that's in the room. I'm going to count down from 10, and then we'll begin the meeting. 10. Coming up slowly now. 9. Just stay relaxed. 8. See if you can keep that meditative state. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. All right. So I guess it's just Christina. The Christina session. That was funny. I was thinking about that. What if Sunday is just Christina's session? So, okay. So, do you have anything you want to share? Do you want us do any more exercises, or you want me to just talk about whatever's coming to me right now? Or okay. All right. All right. On Thursday, I'll just kind of review a couple things we talked about.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Mainly, one of the things that kind of came up was talking about authenticity, being authentic. And, these days, it's such a buzzword, with folks, being authentic. And unfortunately, I think these things, as, us following George, we can retranslate it to the truth. That realistically, our authentic self, if we really think about it using the Buddhist terms, would be our light body, the one that starts after awareness becomes the light, so and then becomes us into the subtle body as it moves through before it reaches Virgil and we start thinking about it. So it's more of our natural self. But these days people use it as an emotional thing. It's like these days they'll say it's how they feel is authentic, and as we know that's erroneous. That the light is ever loving, ever forgiving, ever comforting, and we just need to get in touch with it. But the self just loves to distract us, and other selves love to distract us. I mean, that other selves, that seems to be their modus operandi in life, is to come over and say, hey, Christina, and then all of us could, because it wants to find yourself in there, and your brain says, Christina, brings up the pattern and says, oh, I think like this, I feel like this. And so I find that the best thing to do around people like that is, we talked about, and you're going to love this, as Julie would work with the doctors at the former practice. She used to sit there, and if one of the doctors with that started kind of like that also had the same letter as mom in it, was that particular doctor was having a problem. We'll just leave it at that. She would sit there and start to just let her breath go. And because what does he want? He wants her to validate him. So he wants her to drop her energy and to validate him. So that's what we will have to look out for with other selves, is they want us to have a beer with them, and we're not going to do that. So we want to try to maintain the highest thing. So what she used to do sometimes, Meredith heard this story already, but it was like she would just start visualizing a beautiful place. She would just start, so she'd make sure that she didn't lose her consciousness. And what was amazing at that point, because as we know, the higher frequency paces the lower frequency, that it was amazing that that particular doctor would sometimes stop and go, what were we talking about again? And then without her trying to fix him, whatever the problem was, she just fixed herself. And he came along for the ride. Now, of course, some people are really resistant to that. And once you move your awareness up that high, a lot of times they'll just get up and leave. And a lot of times that's unfortunate with people that get on the path and are in a relationship with someone who is not open to it. Hopefully most of us have never been in that situation, but I think especially when we were younger, we ran into these types. And if we started working on ourselves, all of a sudden they're like, who are you? We don't know who you are anymore. Well, it's funny, you didn't change, really. You just moved your consciousness up and became more who you truly are. And they're like, well, I'm not drinking that. So unfortunately, I remember George talking about that the hardest thing is being in a relationship with someone who is not on the path. And what do? And even Julie and I sometimes, if we're both at different frequencies on something, we have to slow down and say, okay, wait. I think we're both saying the same thing. Let's move our consciousness up. Actually, that was, I'm sure Christina, you heard this before too from George, is that we always wanted the light to be the tiebreaker. So if Julie and I ever had a disagreement on something, it was like, well, the light's the tiebreaker. Let's go to the light. Let's do some muscle testing. Let's both get on the same page. So it's always now in the world right now, it seems like people that are on the spiritual path seems to be an all-time low. Of course, this group could be a lot larger, but it's like, we're everybody's trying, and I think everybody has their own way. And I was talking to one of George's former students the other day, and there just seemed to have been a lot of anger and confusion when he took off. And even I sensed it, and Julie sensed it, and I really didn't know what to do with it at first, and I just took it at face value that that he wanted us to go off on our own, and it was our time to go sit on the mountain. So that's what Julie and I did. We just got up and sat on the mountain. Literally, we're kind of on the side of a mountain right here. So it's not a very big one, but it's, if one looks at it, we're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Knoxville is, like 100, 150 miles away from the next big city. So it's like, they got Nashville 150, Chattanooga 100 miles south, and, there's I mean, it's okay, Knoxville is the gateway to the Appalachians, so it's a tourist trap in itself. And so we got a lot of people coming through, but it's a great place to be anonymous. And it's interesting how the people out here, kind of let people be themselves. They're not really nosy into like what we're doing here. I mean, we got a Buddha on our balcony, so maybe we probably don't see a lot of those around here. But it's a college town. UT is here, and so and it was even my brother was bringing something up that about the Civil War that was here. And realistically, Knoxville, the energy is interesting, is they wanted to be like West Virginia and not join the Confederacy. They wanted to split off like West Virginia did. So the energy here is already a little rebellious. So it's interesting that we attracted coming here, and for our 5-year retreat we've done so far here. And I think that's just why people on the path, and I'm sure all of us try to find quiet places, whether it's just in our car or wherever it is, away from, find our center again. And there's so much going on. There's such cacophony out there and chaos that it's the truth, spirituality, and the other thing is the good person thing. We all strive that it's like we have this energy. Shouldn't I be helping other people? Shouldn't I go out of way to help people? And and that it's like George used to bring this up. It's like one of the hardest things to do when we're setting out on the path is it's like you're at a swimming pool and there's people in the pool. And I'm going to paraphrase to out here, because this is what people do out here, and I'm going to switch it to the allegory out here, is that it never ceases to amaze me out here when people go swimming and we have afternoon thunderstorms that show up out here. And it never ceases to amaze me that they never get out of the pool. And you could yell at them to your blue in the face and not getting out of the pool. Water is a wonderful conductor of electricity, and people still have fatalities out here. It's amazing how that works. So he used to bring this to my attention in a slightly different allegory. You may have heard it already, but we can't force them out of the pool. We can help, we can blow a whistle, we can do what we can, but if they want to stay in the pool, are we going to go down with them? And that's the tough part, especially for Annabelle, that instinctually she wants to, bring her in her flock. She wants to help everybody, save everybody. And realistically, that's where we can quote the Diamond Sutra here, that, we start off as bodhisattvas, that we start off wanting to heal everybody, enlighten everybody, bring their energy up. But at a certain point, when we start on that path, we're going to have to realize, like the Buddha said, that there is nobody to free, that they just forgot, that they're just asleep right now, dreaming their own dream that they created, unfortunately subconsciously, that they're not consciously creating their dream. They've been dreaming the same dream many, many, many lives, as we know. And the only way we can wake them up is to help, infuse energy them, like we just did in the meditation, where we send light to them. Because realistically, if we lower ourselves, George also used to bring up, it's like Christina remembers the little, chicken coop me and Julie lived in Sylmar. And he got up one time and, because there were chickens. There were chickens out the back. There were little chickens out the back. And then the other day, maybe this was a session with me. There were kids out playing by the horses over there. And he's just like, okay, when you're looking out there, you doesn't get muddy when you're looking out through the window. It's when you go out the door and go start playing with the kids, you're going to get muddy. And that's the problem, is that we all want to go out and play with the kids, but we have to remember that we need to maintain their truth, that they are just as free as we are. They have the power. They have just as much power as we do. There is no difference from our spirit point of view between us and them, intrinsically. That you cannot take away, they can't lose anything any more than we can lose anything from that consciousness. Yet, they are, as the Zen Buddhists, or even actually pretty much every high master on the planet talks about people being asleep. Some allegory version of that versus being awake. It's in almost every religion or philosophy anywhere. I mean, the term enlightenment is that the Freemasons use is the same thing. So what we need to do is bring light to the subject, bring light to the people. So we need to be the lights before we even engage with the kids out in because the light is going to create a buffer for us to in a sense. We talked about this on Thursday night. I kind of always think about it as the Patronus charm in Harry Potter. It was just like, they have the little evil little, Grim Reapers. They're trying to get Harry Potter, and he has this, basically creates a light ball of wonderful love energy that they all just chase after, and he's saved. So I would think that's a wonderful, if J.K. Rowling has experienced that, or was this something she intuited from that exorcism type of thing. We need to basically exorcise the person in front of us that we're going to talk to, but not without the holy water and whapping them over the head, and maybe hopefully they won't throw up on us. But it's like, but we want to make sure that we come as the priest, that we come set with our highest energy we can when we're dealing with people. Now we talk to each other. We're all going to go pace each other because we're all at a high consciousness. We've worked all of our lives with meditation, qigong, yoga, whatever it is. So we in general stay there. But our little doggy, our little Annabelle is, has the racial, it's all connected to everybody. So we're basically, as we're raising our energy up, we're raising her up, we're raising everybody else up. But the issue is, as we know, this racial karma is like a brick wall right now. They do not want to change. They just want to be individuals. They just want to be, emotional, and they want to be that way. So how do we deal with that? Especially as all of us do. Actually, Julie and I don't anymore. We just got hired to stay at home now. So the universe is really separating us from everybody. So our mountaintop got even more, more of a mountaintop. So it's amazing how the path as you keep going on the universe just winds up plopping you somewhere that you don't have too much interaction with people. But that's not always the case, because we go out and interact with people. There's family members, we get on the phone, so they're still there. But it's amazing that I think it's an interesting allegory. What's been happening here is that the universe is separating ourself physically from people. So it's kind of made it easier to maintain higher chakras. But again, as a below, so above. And we also create our own reality, our own existence, whatever we see. So wherever our consciousness is, that's what we project. And, well, that goes for people too. And, if they're not in your dream anymore, they're not going to be there. I mean, they're just not going to be there. Now, are they just going to disappear? Well, they might. Do we want them to disappear? Well, that depends up to you. If you want to keep these dysfunctional people in your life, that's your call. Just remember, when you're dealing with a dysfunctional person, they actually just want your energy so they can feel balanced, so they can feel connected, which is a lie, as we know. We can just get in the light and feel connected. So if we get in the light before we talk to these people, we release our breath before we interact with these people, then we already have a high chance of success. And so do they. Meaning that this person who may have a problem, I don't know, I'm just going to make a joke right now with Meredith. So the dog ate the homework, whatever it is. It's like, I don't know. It's like, or whatever, they got, it's California now, they got too stoned the night before, whatever it was. And it's like, that one, especially Cal Poly. I know that place is Stonerville up there. They probably got their own plants in their apartment there. So, it's like, so it's kind of, how do you deal with someone like that? Well, you gotta, it's telepathic, and we almost have to nowadays, because if you try to talk to them, they're gonna just, if they're not at a particular consciousness, there's a low probability they're gonna understand what you're talking about at first. But if we can kind of slowly pace them in front of us, including a whole classroom, when we get in there, it's just, all of a sudden, the student, the fellow employee, a subordinate, they're going to come in relaxed, hopefully. That sometimes, they're so frazzled they're not going to get the energy to get the message. But you're going to feel great while you're talking to this person that's having a meltdown. Got so stoned or lost his computer, whatever it was. And you can just sit there and just be relaxed, be gentle, and in a sense, problems don't become problems anymore. This is what happens. They're not, it's just like, people try to solve problems. Why? Remember wanting? That famous little George nugget that he used to throw out there all the time? Well, if we're unwanting, all we're going to have are problems to try to solve. And unfortunately, Virgil wants to maintain control. So he's always going to find problems, no matter where he goes, and he's always going to look for something to fix in other people. But if we move up, get in a sense of like the glass is full, meaning that you can always take a drink. It's always full. No matter what you put it down, the glass fills back up again. You chug the whole thing, put it down, it fills right back up again. Even George used to say it the other way. He'd say like intuition is like you have a straw and you're just like, just bring down that love. Bring down that solution. Because one thing, selves want to hear is a solution. Unfortunately, a lot of selves want to make sure they're the ones that get the solution, so you can always kind of make it look like they got it. They'll be all excited about that they came up with it. But if we're so high up, feeling wonderful, why do we need the credit? And give it to them. They're the one that needs the credit. So all of us are very smart here. We don't need to show off about how smart we are. And it's like, that may even be a subtle thing on our side to get validation. So we want to move up and just be gentle. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to be a pushover. I mean, no, it's not that at all. Because if there's a fight that breaks out, we'll just be calm and know the exit. We're like, we noticed the exit when we got in. And, all of a sudden, like, okay, we're out. Let's just, let the selves have their fun. Now, this is like the lightning storm in the pool. It's like you could scream and yell all day long, but you yourself might get hit by lightning. So it's like, at that point, it's like, do you become another victim of these selves? And that's, the choice we all have to make on this path. That do we allow? How much do we go in and try to help those that are in the pool drowning? How much do we help? And how do we identify those that we can? Or are we just going to allow ourselves to go down with the ship, in a sense, in that point? So this is where wisdom comes in. This is why we want to let go of our breath in situations that may be problematic. We'll call it that right now. So the more we're relaxed, the more we're at ease in a situation that doesn't seem like that's the right response to have. It seems like, you ought to stand and fight at that point. Well, I find it interesting. The other day came to me about the Jesus saying, turn the other cheek. And I was contemplating on that, and I was like, I bet what he meant was that, what problems? Did they have a problem with me? It's like, well, they're always going to have a problem with me. So it's like, well, isn't that fascinating? If someone has a problem with me, or us, our bodies, in a sense, don't they always have a problem with us at some point? Doesn't it always, there might be a gentle point, like the yin and yang thing, where we're not having as much of a problem, but then eventually that person that has a problem with you again at some point. So it's like, and then we're like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Or how do I fix this person? Well, again, we've dropped down into wanting. Wanting creates more wanting. So what do? Well, we move up. Now, this is one of the problems I used to have when George told me this, was that, and he even said this, let's go back like to a couple, where one person, and in his case usually it was the woman, gets on the path working with him, and the husband comes along and says, and eventually just says, oh, I know all this, and leaves. Yeah, but they're still in a relationship. It never failed, what George would tell me, is that the wife would come back, sometimes with the husband, doesn't really mean that, but you know, women usually were more in touch with this energy, where men it just seems abstract, so it's like almost impossible for them to touch. Not everybody. I mean, I guess I could say, you know, me, but I was always, you know, beating to my own drum anyways. So but he would bring it up to his attention that pride sometimes hits at this point, that, you know, we're getting in the light. We're letting go of our breath. We're waking up from dreaming. We look over at our friend or spouse, whatever it is, and, you know, they're just not changing at all. And it's like, and it can hurt the intellect, the pride itself, that it seems unfair. It's like, I have to let go of this problem, but this person constantly still has this problem. So it's like that is totally unfair. It's like, you know, I'm getting in the light, I'm cutting cords, and this person keeps coming back with the same problem with me, and it's like, I'm like, that's just like, and he's like, yeah, it isn't fair. You know, it isn't. I mean, they want a drinking buddy. They want you to stay down here. So they're like looking at us like, don't you know there's a problem here? And you're like, no. And like, again, at this point, this is where we have to move to empathy and hopefully compassion, that we just allow this person just to be what they are, how they're going to act, and, you know, we'll put them in the light, you know, cut cords with them. But yeah, our self will come out and screaming, say, this isn't fair! And it's so, you know, that's where we have to send our self-love. And, well, you know, okay, well, can you get in a sense of peace? Can you let that go? And they still may come back. Well, they're not going to let it go. They're still out there, you know, eating meatloaf or whatever it is, and I have to have this celery stalk right now. And it's like, well, we're trying to become enlightened, and that person over there just wants validation. That person over there is just, you know, trying to survive. You know, no different than the animals that are just moving, looking for, you know, our squirrels out here, our birds out here on our deck. That's not much different than what they're going from, except these animals are not stuck in a thinking loop like humans are, and that's where feelings come in. That's the difference where the model breaks down with animals, because animals are just reacting, going back and forth. You know, it's just the universe balancing itself, and that's why humans right now are such a mess, because the universe is basically going, hey. Hello? Is this thing on? You know? And it's just, the universe is just like, you know, unconditional love is unconditioned. It's unconditional. It's always being sent. God is always going, hey, hello, you know, hello down there. It's going to be okay. He's always saying it's going to be okay. It's always going to be okay. I'm going to work this out. I'm going to work this out. What is the Holy Spirit? Why is it called the Holy Spirit? Just getting into my preacher mode here for a second. Why is it called the Holy Spirit? Because it's whole. It's not missing anything. It's not. So it's always trying to come down to the selves, saying, hey, get in touch with me. We're here to balance. We're here to remember that you were light from the beginning. That this was your authentic self. That this is where you started. That you were perfect. That you were pure. That there were no problems. There was activity. Things happened. I mean, you have legs. You have consciousness that moves. But it's supposed to be dynamic. It's not that thinking loop that people get into. That this is a self. You know, this is Steve. You know, Steve always does this, and it's like, you know, when I look in the mirror, it's Steve, and you know, Steve wears his hair like this. Steve has these kinds of shoes. Steve eats this. Steve that. I have to use a male in that sense, because that's the you know, the males have the highest form of self based on their brain and testosterone patterns, and that's what's kind of problematic with feminism, is that feminism has a tendency to want to be masculinism. It's like they just want to be a man, and it's like, well, what is a woman as itself? What does female energy do? And it's why it gets unfortunate that we all, you know, women have the tendency to have to be as strong as a man or think like a man or whatever it is. But it's really unfortunate, because as women go, women have the quickest route and already have the most sensitivity with their authentic self, with their spirit, with love, with peace. You guys don't have as much Virgil to block that pathway. Whereas men, speaking of which, it's like abstraction is just the name of the game. That's just their thoughts are what make them real in general. In general, not everybody. But it's like, but from a female point of view, that's why there's so many more women in yoga than men. I mean, because it's just, you have a quicker mind-body connection than men. And that's why men go lift weights. Because the big muscle groups are Virgil. Small muscle groups is Annabelle, which is yin and yang. So they like to, where women more want to, like, gentle. Of course, these days we've got, going both ways with men and women. Women are using the big men, and then men are trying to get into yoga. So it really shows the universe is trying to balance people out if they would just pay attention. If they would be detectives. If they would, in a sense, stop listening to their thoughts and believing them and to be real. And again, the biggest problem with women in general is that if they would stop believing their emotions to be real, to be them. So, but the nice thing about that is, it's if you think your emotions, we can kind of sneak around with the emotions up the Beatrice. That's what our meditations are about. We're sneaking around Virgil. We're going to kind of like ask him to go to sleep and take a nap in our meditations, so we can move around Virgil and just take the back door. It's like you're looking at, there's like a crowded building, and you don't want to go through there. There's people in there, and I don't know what's going on. It's like, well, I'm going to walk around back and go in the back, and then I'm in. I don't have to worry about the front. That's what we're basically doing with the meditations. We're just, Virgil makes things so complicated. I mean, not to pick on religion, but if you look at the size of most religious manuals or books, Bible, whatever it is, they're thick. There's a something for everything. Yoga's the same way. I mean, how many different yogas are there? How many different yoga positions are there? How many? I mean, there seems like a new yoga comes out every year. We got a new yoga that's coming out now. So Virgil loves to make everything so complicated. And nowadays it's men and women, but I'm trying to give women a little credit here. You guys can get in the back door easier than most men can. I mean, if you're in a relationship with a man, yeah, sometimes they're just like, you're like, hello, is anybody home? I'm trying to talk to you. And they're just like, well, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, if you said it like this, I know what you're talking about. It's just like, that doesn't make any sense to me. You're like, well, it doesn't make, what you're saying doesn't make any sense to me. And it's like, so at that point, it's like, I don't know what to say with men. I really don't. I'll sign my papers and say I'm not a man and throw it over there. That's fine with me. Because, I don't know what to say. It's like out there, men these days, I don't know if the energy is just changed or what. It's very difficult for them to not unplug from their Virgil now. I don't really know. I'm hoping that will change as, I really hope there's not bigger things to come like this little pandemic that we had that, how bad was it? How much did the media blow it out of proportion? Who knows? We don't know. We're only told, we can, understand what we're told. But either way, the world went nuts. That's what we can know as a fact. Whether or not how bad it was or not is, and it's always stress. It's always the reaction to a stress that's the problem. I mean, all of us, if we get an illness, cancel. We're like, okay, I gotta get some vitamin C, I gotta get some fluids, I gotta get my rest, Did any of us get COVID? Did you guys get it? I don't know. If I had it, I didn't even know I had it. So it's like, but if we did, we'd know what to do. We'd get rest, we'd get in the light. But what do these people do? They just go into a panic. And, the mob philosophy with humans, is a whole philosophy at college. You could study it forever about the herd mentality. And of course, what's that? Annabelle! I mean, you think about if you had a class on herd mentality. And bring us in there, with all of us studying Annabelle. You'd be like, you could just tell the class in one day and tell everybody to go home. Because you say, well, everybody's in Annabelle. And, they need to move at least to Virgil. If you think about that, it's really scary at that point because, if realistically, these people need to move to Virgil, and we're talking about getting around them, I mean, we're here and there, like down the street, around the corner, over the mountaintop, and they can't even see us. There's something blocking us. So we need to be, extra, extra, extra cautious with our awareness these days. And if there are bigger things on the horizon, then we need, as I scratch my fifth chakra right there, we really need to mind our connection with our source, mind our connection to that source with our body, mind our connection with our rogue known as the self, and it needs to become less of a rogue, even though it likes to go chew on the furniture and pee on the floor every so often. That it's like, but yeah, and that's the main thing with this path as we move higher and higher, is we're going to be more compassionate with our little pet. That, yeah, sometimes it just needs to go get a hamburger or whatever it is, or it just needs to go, watch Alien or whatever it needs to go do. It's like, and let's let it. It doesn't need to be perfect. Let it argue sometimes with someone, and inadvertently you may find out you're not arguing with them. They actually, it's not you. It's actually the spirit arguing with that person. And if you are in an argument with you, why don't you move your awareness outside of yourself and watch the argument take place from your awareness. Watch yourself interact with that other self. And just go, the content of awareness is not me. And as this is happening, just be aware of it. Aware of yourself talking to the person in front of you, and be aware of that being talked back to you. And realistically, that's where we're all going to be eventually. That you'll be just watching yourself. Remember at the retreats, we always put somebody in front of somebody else. Always the shortest person would always be in front, and then the next person who's taller would look above them. I think Meredith was in there somewhere always, right? Poor Meredith, And then, it was Aris was like way in the back or wherever he was. And he was saying that's how consciousness works when you're waking up. They're just in front of you. You're not losing anything. You're just gaining ground. You're going to higher ground, and you're just going higher, and you're just seeing. So, and from there, that's where the intention happens. So we just guide ourselves. So I find one of the beginning points where, like we were just talking about, a great exercise is just watch yourself, being a self. Watch your thoughts as it thinks. Be aware of your emotions as they come in. The easy one in some ways is like if you have like a little tight twingy or something, we all can kind of just, can just say, well, look at that. What's something going on down on my leg? Cancel. But it's like, look at that. But we don't sometimes, when we forget to do that with our emotions. We forget to do that with our thoughts. And then in the mixture between the emotion and the thought, which is feelings, which are really terrible, we forget to look at feelings as also thoughts, because we think feelings is what I'm really feeling right now. And that feeling is where the self begins, because we think that wonderful thing George used to tell us all the time, that she, it, he did it to me. That we had no power in the situation. Now, this used to bother me sometimes, and that's why I began to realize, and maybe it was George or something told me, or maybe it just came from intuition, is that to just be aware of yourself interacting, and don't stop it from interacting. Don't try to even change yourself from interacting. Try it sometime when you're talking to someone. Maybe pick a situation where you're not in a fight. That's probably not the best place to start this. You want to start, easy. Someone you get along with, when you walk up to them, or you're on the phone, or do we even talk on the phone anymore? I don't know. But it's like, whatever you're interacting with this person, just be aware of yourself interacting. And just be aware, and see if you can be aware of you talking, of the body talking, of the self talking, feelings, even if they're good feelings, just, look at that. The awareness is going to want to fuse in that situation. Hopefully not. Maybe all of us have moved up high enough that we're not going to worry about that. But be aware of fusion, because then you'll go in, and then you'll be like, wait. And I'll go in, and, I want to control the conversation. I want to control what's happening. And it's like, no. Why don't we back up? And remember, that's just consciousness we're aware of. So consciousness is energy. And if we remove our control from it, Being aware, just be aware of the situation talking to this person. Why don't we do it right now? See if you can be aware of your body, yourself, listening, hearing, seeing, and see if there's a change. And see if you can feel yourself being pulled back in, or do you just maintain awareness? That it's almost like with me talking right now, it's more like I'm aware of a puppet talking. So I'm trying, not just trying, but am aware of the body just talking right now. And it's like, and if all of a sudden I start to feel my body tense, we just, move some awareness there, and just, you're seeing your body getting tense. You're seeing your body sitting here. One of the first exercise that came to me, or George had given me when we first started, was just to visualize yourself as you're yourself. Meaning it's like, see yourself outside of yourself. Visualizing yourself. It's like you're putting like a separate you here, and you're visualizing yourself as you're interacting. Now it's a little tough at first, and but it's the same kind of thing. It's like the movie. Just see this thing as a movie that's happening. Like even sitting here, looking at the screen. We also did the space thing where you just visualize. That's the quickest way in my book, is to see the space between you and your own face on the screen. And just be aware of yourself sitting there. But you're still seeing yourself. Just be an awareness. And your body should just be breathing automatically. Shouldn't be any tension. This is just a conscious meditation with your eyes open. And realistically, this is where we should always be. Just a walking meditation, a sitting conscious meditation. So now let's close our eyes and do our meditation. Since we're already pretty up there right now, we'll just move through the body quickly, just to give Annabelle something to do, since she knows we're going to meditate now. So let's just move our awareness to our feet. Move our awareness to our ankles. Move our awareness to our calves, to our knees, to our thighs, to our hips, to our lower back, to our upper back, to our hands, to our wrists, to our forearms, to our elbows, back up the arms to the shoulders, the muscles in the shoulders, the neck, the cranium, the eyes, the jaw, the chest, the stomach, the pelvis area, now move your awareness to the crown of your head. Now move your awareness to your forehead. Is there luminosity? Are there tones? Is there bliss? I want you at this point to intend to feel as good as you can feel, as wonderful as you can feel. Fill your body with an enjoyment, with a rich sense of joy, a rich sense of, well, let's put it this way, give it what you think it needs. Does it need peace? Does it need bliss? Does it need love? Does it need a hug? Give your body a hug. Fill it with compassion. Move your awareness to your tailbone. Move your awareness to the point opposite your belly button. Move your awareness to the point opposite the solar plexus. Move your awareness up the spinal column to a point opposite the sternum. Move your awareness to a point opposite the throat. Move your awareness to your crown. Move your awareness to your heart. Pick up the beat. Move your awareness to your forehead. And leave your awareness at your forehead for a while. I'm not going to talk for a little while. And just be aware of the luminosity, the pitch, the bliss. If it moves away, just bring it back. I'm not going to speak for a little bit. When you hear my voice, it won't startle you. Just give you direction. So let's just be aware of our forehead. Relax, relax, relax. Keep your awareness at your forehead. Now, be aware of what I'm going to say, but just keep your awareness on your forehead. Just be aware of what I'm going to repeat over and over again, but keep your awareness at your sixth chakra, at your forehead. The content of awareness is not you. Keep your awareness on your forehead. The content of awareness is not you. The content of your 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 awareness is not you. Relax. The content of your awareness is not you. The content of your awareness is not you. The content of your awareness is not you. Keep your awareness on your forehead area. Keep relaxing. If you feel any tension, just let it go. You feel like your heart chakra is closing? Well, just open it up. The first chakra, just bring it some love. Bring love to your chakras. Bring love to the world. Be the light in the world. Know that you are the light. Know count down from 10. Orient yourself in the room slowly now. Don't lose those great feelings. 10. Maintain your awareness. 9. Just continue to be aware. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2, 1, open your eyes. Maintain awareness. Try to do, when you're interacting with people, even when you're doing work, just be aware, be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of your emotions. Awareness is like the final step before, or I should say it is the final step before there is no final step, which you just remember. But it's the gate. As in Zen, they call it the gateless gate. And they call it the open secret. Most people are not aware that they're aware. They just think, feel, go through life. They think that's real. But real awareness never changes. It never judges. It doesn't annihilate anything. It's just aware. So is there any questions before we go? Hopefully not. We're not going to use that brain. But if something has come to you that you would like to make a comment on or anything, I think this more of a short and sweet